session.
On the session.
I'm in bars. Sorry.
Do you know how to change your main counter?
I can figure it out.
We're not going to figure it out. We're going to tell you.
There it is. 445 right now.
Good deal. Carry on. Quiet. So I'm in today with Justin Gant. Justin does Foley. How are you, Justin?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You do sound effects work. How long have you been doing that?
I have been doing sound effects since the very end of 2019. Around there, I got my first hand recorder, which was a Zoom H4n Pro, because I just looked online, like, what's a nice beginner little mic thing. And from there, I just kind of experimented with what I was presented, because during that time, COVID was just starting, and there was this threat of staying inside, and I had to basically just make the best of what I had.
What drew you to doing Foley and sound effects as opposed to video or music recording or any other type of audio work? What drew you to Foley?
So I think it's really the creativity and freedom that you can get from sound effects, sound design, Foley, all that. What really drove me was I saw this video of a recording session from A Quiet Place, and they were doing the Foley for when the monsters open up their ears for echolocation, make like this cracking and popping sound.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw that, what they did was they tasered grapes and pitched down the audio, and I'm like, wow, that is really cool. Like,
Have you ever gotten to taser a fruit?
No, I have not been able to taser fruit, but I have got to stab fruit before.
What fruit did you stab?
Watermelon.
Oh, okay. I would have assumed.
I had a big old watermelon. This was when I first had my quote unquote setup. I had one of those Disney princess pop up tents
Mm-hmm.
with a comforter over it for sound isolation. And I had the watermelon in there, and I just took some knives and just stabbed the watermelon. And I recorded that, and I used that for my own sound effects.
You do a lot of stuff in your dorm, right?
Yes.
How does that translate to getting good sound for things that really wouldn't sound great in a dorm?
So before I started working in a dorm, it was at my house in a small town next to a highway. So this house is really old next to a highway, so you know there's going to be a lot of sound coming in. And during that time, you get really good at noise isolation because you're only working in noisy environments.
Mm-hmm.
So when I transitioned to a dorm, the only thing I really had to do was just add some acoustic treatment so that sound wouldn't bounce off the wall so much, because you can go into those rooms and you clap and it's like this buzzing kind of reverb that's like super annoying.
Mm-hmm.
I got so used to how quiet my room was after I treated it that when I went to other people's dorms and started talking, I'm like, it sounds like crap in here. That needs fixed.
Yeah. So what kind of equipment have you been using? What do you use? What do you want to use? What do you use to get good Foley sound?
So like I mentioned, when I first started, it was just a Zoom H4n hand recorder that came with these little lavalier mics. They weren't wireless. They were actually pretty bulky on the end where you connect them in. But I would just take a little tripod stand that you would get for like a phone, which fits perfectly into the hand recorder, set that up really close to what I was using as my props, and then hit record and just experiment with the gain. I had some props done with the lavalier mics, like really tiny gadgets I've made. I made a thing out of old guitar tuners and strings that when you struck it with a bow, it makes this like creaking high-pitched sound. Haven't used those in a long time, but it was pretty interesting. Now I've upgraded to a lot more gear. I use an H8 hand recorder as my main input. A lot more tracks can be used. It's so convenient. I also have my computer. With Pro Tools, I used to only use GarageBand and Audacity,
Yeah.
which we're kind of limited at the time, but you make do when you're first starting out. And I also own a couple of shotgun mics. I have a Rode NTG5 and an NTG1 as a backup.
Mm-hmm.
And for my field recording stuff, the hand recorder works just fine. I have a boom pole, and I recently just bought a fancy windscreen for my mic.
Pains, give me a time.
45:19.
Okay, quiet.
I love that.
That was
cool.
way better.
Oh man, that was such a deeper sound than I expected.
Yeah, that was way deeper than I thought. So did it shatter like as soon
Oh,
as
it's in like chunks.
yeah. Result if you throw it down on it harder. I don't know if that's true.
I mean, that just you get to experiment with. But it's just hard to keep my excitement on that one. It's just
Do another one.
do another one.
Do it quick before the friggin' heater deceives me.
The heater.
And I don't know how much plastic seal.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, isn't this awful?
Yeah, it's the worst.
Okay, quiet.
Take two.
It's so cool.
It's so freaking cool.
Big chunk came out here, right?
You guys have no idea how happy I am right
Big
now.
chunk on the right.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do another one like that?
I have one more glass pane like
It's
that.
your last glass pane.
Well, it's up to you.
I think we wanted to drop one on the corner.
So what, for anyone who really doesn't know, what goes into selling and getting your sound effects out to people to use them? I mean, what goes into turning that into a business?
So at the moment, it is kind of an iffy area because I'm still trying to develop myself as a professional
Mhm.
per se. So at first, I tried using this one website where you can upload your sound effects, and if they got approved, they will be put onto an open market. They take care of all the licensing and stuff, which is something I don't know how to do, so it's really convenient. Except the process on it is really iffy. Like apparently it's really hard to get your sound effects approved on there, and I don't know exactly what I would have to do to get approved. I haven't been approved once, which I mean I'm fueled by spite, so it's like
Yeah.
I just keep going no matter how many times I get rejected. Like it says something about like not a commercial quality or something, but they don't give you great detail and what you got to fix. And there's forums on it people are really annoyed about.
Mhm.
So I kind of drifted away from that website, and I'm more just now meet people in person, other podcasters, and I tell them about what I do, and they get interested, and then I just figure out price on the spot.
So it's a lot of networking, kind of like being a freelance photo editor, photographer, or anything.
Yeah, I love networking. I do a lot of it. My friends are question me like, "How come you're like so good at networking? Like you meet all these like interesting people," and it's like you just gotta talk to people. Like you just sometimes it's just talking to a stranger, which I get. You're taught not to do that, but
Yeah.
in the right circumstances, yes, you can just go and talk to a stranger if it's like if you trust them, I guess.
No one's gonna know who you are unless you raise a ruckus and poke people and make a fuss about what you're doing. I mean, nobody's gonna know you've got anything going on unless you advertise it, and you advertise it a lot.
Yeah, that's where social media comes really handy. You can just if you post frequently, then people will notice you. And
Do you do a lot of commissions?
People can commission if they want to. I haven't really received a commission just because the area that I'm in, it's not. I don't talk to a lot of people who need that sound effect work. I don't have a lot of friends who need it, and other people tend to go for like free sound effects if they can.
Yeah.
It's like sound effects is something that it's unless it's something very specific that you need, you can find it on like free websites, which I get how it's convenient, but for me it's not the greatest.
Yeah.
But the people I do work with really enjoy my work. They say it's a much more unique sound. Everything I do is from scratch. I hate using like free audio files for layers.
Yeah.
And that what just brings a uniqueness to my sound. I'm currently working with a monster podcast, designing all these wacky sound effects that you wouldn't be able to ever find on freesound.org.
Mm-hmm. Where can we find that? Where can we listen to that?
You can listen to this podcast called the Monster Island Film Vault, basically anywhere that you can find podcasts. I mostly use Spotify, but anywhere that you listen to podcasts, you can find it.
Hey, Nick,
Can you want to readjust it to that
you
overhead?
wanna maybe zoom in on that one?
Yeah, it's already zoomed in.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, we already
Like this?
Yeah.
Hey,
The mic is.
just a thought here, JP.
But we could go more, so it's just on the glass.
You might think about taking some of this,
How much farther does it go in?
like rip
Good question.
a few strips of this and put it
It's kind of really
on the four corners of the brick, because if it'll absorb the thud. It'll absorb the impact of the thud. So pick it up and put it on the edges of the. You'll have to be real careful.
Yeah, let's get the 4 pieces
Four
straight.
pieces.
Okay.
So there's another.
Does that even have
Come on. There's another. And there's another.
Okay.
It wasn't like
I wanted to make sure that I didn't just go exactly that.
Pick it up first. Ah, that's fine. It's 3:35 right now. So in an hour, you think we can be cleaning up?
How's that?
Oh yeah, you just have this and the big the panel that we all been waiting for.
Oh, so do you think we can be cleaning? Is that good?
Yeah, that's great.
I mean,
We don't have to rush anything.
well, yeah.
Did you record this?
But if we're done in the next half.
Alright, let's go! What time?
Okay, Kraken bottle. Give me a time.
77:31.
77:31. Everyone quiet.
that didn't even do anything.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, this is a weapon on its own.
It'll be good video.
Yeah, don't throw that at anybody.
So last month, Justin, me, Nathan, and a couple other guys trucked on out to a warehouse on the Sweetwater campus, and for about 8 hours, we broke a lot of glass, and we had a lot of fun doing it. What was the main reason why you needed to be breaking all that glass, and why you decided that, well, number one, that you would let me film it, and number two, that you needed to break so many different bottles and window panes and use so many different hammers and get so many different sounds from that? What was the purpose of that?
So the whole warehouse gig like that, it blew up so more than I expected. I just wanted to do a little like outdoor session, breaking a couple things just to get some samples, because one of the sound effects I'm doing for that podcast, the sound effects are called crystal shattering and crystal formation. So first thing come to mind is glass. But thing is with glass, a lot of Foley artists don't work with live pieces of glass and break them. It's usually like you have already broken glass in a sack and then you hit it, which works perfectly fine. But for my sake, I felt like just being different and just break glass anyway. So I reached out to Nathan about this, and he thinks this is a really cool idea. And over time, it just gets more and more. And then he passed along the idea onto the general Slack, which, you saw.
Mm-hmm.
You said that you or Nathan brought the idea about doing video, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds pretty fun.
Right.
Which, that's basically my mentality on thing. It's like, okay, sure, we'll do that. Another reason why I wanted to do the glass breaking is to build my own portfolio.
Right.
Because I'm taking this year to really build my portfolio up as a professional, because it'll make pricing a lot easier along the road. Because when you're doing freelance work, pricing is usually based off your time.
Yeah.
But there are some instances where I feel like it's not fair to price my time because of my inexperience. I'm trying to figure out how to do something, and it takes me more hours than it should just because I didn't know how to do it in the first place, or I don't have the samples already. So now I have a bunch of glass samples, which work really well for my library. I'm really glad with what I captured, and I still have something to review. I'm not done yet.
How many did you get from that? Because we broke a lot of glass.
For the first mic, I got about 32 samples.
Wow.
Which I remember while I was editing, it was like almost midnight while I'm in here. And a couple people walk in, it's like, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, good, listen to this. And I play like this super crisp glass breaking over the monitors, and just everyone's like, whoa, you got any more? So I just started like playing them. It's like, I'm really glad with like the work we got.
Yeah, and it helped. Obviously, it helped me build my portfolio as a video editor, and it helped this podcast with a little bit more material. It was a really, really fun day, and I know Nathan enjoyed himself.
Oh, yeah.
He said he'd never been a part of anything like that. It was
Man, Nathan. Yeah, he was just having a field day. Like, even though that he wasn't really manning a lot of it, he was just kind of there taking pictures. Remember he mentioned to me that this was the most interesting / creative thing he's done in the 3 years that he's worked here, because BFW music program is mostly just for music production, or anything within that industry, which is nothing to. No, it's not bad. It's like it's what they advertise. It's just that while I was here, I decided to take the more interesting route, and it works just fine.
Yeah, and especially doing it in a warehouse. I mean, we had that warehouse to ourselves we had to have been in there for 8 hours, 8 or 9 hours, and waiting on the the HVAC heater or whatever it was every 15 minutes. Did you get any samples where you had to take the noise down on that, or did we do good enough stopping?
I think there was a couple that I recorded, because since I was working with just the audio files, I didn't know exactly what we were doing in the video. When I found something that I just liked, I just sampled it out. And I guess I think there was a couple that I did noise reduction on, but again, since my old work area, all I did was noise reduction. It was really easy just to take out a little vent, because it's just a drone.
Well, we had a lot of fun, and we had a lot of cleanup.
Yes.
We had a lot of sweeping and deconstruction and, well, construction too. We had to build that crate. We had to take apart one and put another one together, and it was a long day, but it was really, really fun. And everyone involved had a really good time. And the people, a part of the Sweetwater video team, they were good enough to come down and take a look at our set before we started filming, and they liked it. It was a good day, and we're going to be doing more things like that. Hopefully. I mean,
oh yeah. I have several things planned, which I haven't started building on it yet, just because I'm trying to save money. But I think my next recording session is going to be a big ukulele smashing session.
Oh, that's right.
Get a bunch of wood cracking samples, and it's like, I have a buddy who really hates ukuleles, and this is pretty much the reason why I'm doing it. Like, out of any instrument to choose, ukuleles, they're really cheap, and shouldn't exist. So we're going to smash them.
Well, let me video that. Let me know when you're doing that, and we'll take a video of it. And everyone listening, let me know if you'd care to see a video of us twisting and busting and recording ukuleles for a couple hours.
Yeah, it's going to be this whole thing where it's like, how many different ways can you break a ukulele? I really want to use one as a baseball bat. Just see what happens. Just chuck a baseball right at it.
Man, you've got big aspirations.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Justin, let everybody know where we can find your sound effects, where we can follow you, where we can get in touch with you. Just give everybody the lowdown on how we can find you.
So I don't have a website per se for when you can just go up and straight buy sound effects, but you can contact me on any of my social media accounts or even my email. So my Instagram is breaking_news_this_Justin. Justin as one word as my name. And you can just find Justin Gant on Facebook. And I technically do have a Twitter. I don't really post to it a lot just because it's a little harder to build up on Twitter. But it is at JPGant_UWSD, under the name of Homebrewed Sound Design.
I'll be sure to link all these in the description below so you guys can find him. Thanks so much, Justin, for coming in. I appreciate the time we had to video that and the time we had to talk in here. I had a really good time with it.
Oh yeah, it was really fun. And thanks for having me. First time being on a podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Goodbye, panel.